Welcome to the Fantasy Flex Week 12 podcast, and happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I'm your host, Chris Raybon, joined as always by my dude, Sean Koerner. Sean, happy holidays. What's going on?
Happy holidays. Had a good week 11. Went 10-5 on my sides, totals and props, but last night was very tilting ahead. Kadarius Toney over 41.5 receiving yards, and he, despite seeing 12 targets and getting 7 catches, he finished 1.5 yards short. You had to rub it in that he had that one catch where he caught it and he went backwards for a loss. So even if he just had a positive gain on that, would have won. But can't get too down on that. Had a good week, so looking forward to this Thanksgiving week.
Yeah, who's not looking forward to this Thanksgiving week? Jason Garrett, because he just got canned as the offensive coordinator of the New York Giants. So I guess they weren't too happy about that 30-10 loss with guys running backwards from the first down marker. And Daniel Jones throwing probably one of the top 5 worst interceptions I've ever seen any quarterback throw, right to a defensive lineman on a throwback pass with no Giant in sight. So it was an ugly game for the Giants, but we got a lot to get to. So
so real quick, do you know who you face in the Action Network Fantasy Football League this week?
I'm guessing it's you.
Yep. We need to have a bet on this.
You
you probably need a spread. My team is pretty stacked. I managed to beat Stuckey's juggernaut of a team because he forgot to take out Lamar Jackson, which we can excuse. He's so busy Sunday mornings. He wasn't able to react to that. And, Lamar was 50-50 to play, but he still put up a fight because he had Jonathan Taylor, but I had Austin Eckler, just hell of a match. So finally took down Stuckey. Somebody had to do it, but get to face you this week. So we'll have to come up with some side of side wager or side prop.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm making a run here. I'm up to third place, and you knocked out Stuckey. So I'm 7-4. We have 2 7-4 teams, and then no one else is better than 5 and 6. And we lead the league at 10-1. So I might end up facing you in the playoffs.
Should be fun.
All right. We got a lot to get to. We're going to talk waivers on this pod. We're going to talk the Thanksgiving slate. We're going to talk obviously our top 5, and then we'll talk our main slate, cheat codes. We'll build a lineup. So jam-packed podcast. Let's get to it. And let's start with the Thanksgiving slate. Sean, we have Chicago, Detroit. We have Vegas, Dallas. We have Buffalo, New Orleans. So let's just go through the positions. Quarterback, who do you like here? I think I've already kind of made my cash game lineups, and I'll have a write-up out for the slate similar to what I do, with the matchups every Saturday. And I think I'm going Josh Allen here. I know he's struggled in the past, but just don't know what's going to happen with Dak and his receiving core here. CeeDee Lamb might be out. So I think I'm going Josh Allen. Who do you like at quarterback in this Thanksgiving slate?
Yeah, Josh Allen's the top play for sure on this slate. Even at 7,800, he's still a good play because this is a pretty weak slate. Dak, he's 6,900, which is a fair price, but he's likely going to be without Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. So I like Derek Carr at 5,900. He's been on a bit of a downturn of late, but he still has shown like a really high ceiling this year. So I think being at the same price as like the Trevor Simeons and Andy Daltons of the world makes Derek Carr a pretty nice play for what is kind of like a weaker slate when it comes to quarterback.
All right, running back. The guy that stands out to me is David Montgomery, 95% snap rate last week against the Baltimore Ravens. And I think the only thing we worried about with Montgomery coming back here off the injury was Khalil Herbert had played well, and maybe, rookie, maybe they were going to give him a little more of the backfield usage than they had previously. But lo and behold, Montgomery, 85% of the snaps in week 9 off the injury, and then 95%. So he's the guy that I think stands out at 6K at the running back position.
Oh yeah, David Montgomery all the way for me. Just the top value play, top everything play at running back this week. And then DeAndre Swift, depending on if Jared Goff or Tim Boyle starts. If Jared Goff starts, I love DeAndre Swift at this price. If Tim Boyle starts, I'm probably going to downgrade him quite a bit. He had 0 receiving yards on 3 catches last week. Tim Boyle couldn't even dump it off to DeAndre Swift. So that he's going to get a massive downgrade if Tim Boyle starts again. And then, Tony Pollard's very sneaky at 5,600. Zeke's banged up right now, and it's a short week, so Tony Pollard could see a ton of action here, especially with CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper out. I think they might use Tony Pollard more as a pass catcher in this game. So, I think Tony Pollard is very sneaky at 5,600. He has a very high ceiling, even if Zeke plays. So he's a guy that I think will be a cheat code, and certainly going to have some flyers with him in GPPs.
Speaking of the Cowboys, at wide receiver, Michael Gallup obviously has to be locked in, with at least one of those guys. That looks like Lamb is going to be out too. There were reports that he has a chance to play, but I just think that's like optimism, in the kind of game plan, little, make the Raiders game plan for him. It's really tough to get cleared for the concussion protocol on a short week. So I still doubt he's going to play, but Gallup, and then, Cedric Wilson, I think, kind of goes back into the discussion here, especially if you have both of those guys out, because now Wilson becomes the number 2. But even if he's not, he's kind of a punt play, just like salary saver. So you could do whatever you want with the rest of your lineup. And he'll still be a top 3 receiver for, probably what should be the best passing, the best offense overall on the slate. So like him as well. What about you at wide receiver?
Yeah, I love Cedric Wilson at 3,500. At the top, you can't go wrong with Michael Gallup or Hunter Renfrow in this 5,900 to 5,600 range. They're clearly, the top value at the top. And then you have some of these like salary savers, like Gabe Davis at 3,700 is kind of sneaky on a slate like this. Cole Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders have been struggling lately. Gabe Davis really hasn't seen an uptick in playing time, but he was their leading receiver last week with 27 yards. So even in limited playing time, Gabe Davis is the kind of guy that can break a slate with a single catch. So love him. Just he has that baked in upside we love on smaller slates. And then Josh Reynolds is the ultimate cheat code if Jared Goff starts. If Tim Boyle starts, again, I'm off all Lions players. But if Jared Goff starts, Josh Reynolds has a pathway to become the Lions' number 1 receiver the rest of the season. Last week, he had a 96% routes run rate. Didn't catch a single ball on 3 targets, but that's Tim Boyle's fault. But Josh Reynolds and Jared Goff already have, chemistry from their Rams days. So if Goff returns here, I think Reynolds is very sneaky at 3K. Give me all the Josh Reynolds if Goff returns this week.
So, I mean, you've been just like I have. You've been projecting these Lions every week. So you'll appreciate this, but what are the odds that Josh Reynolds is a healthy scratch this week?
Oh, 0.
Really?
He's not on the Titans anymore. So
no, I think he could be a healtty scratch for the Lions. Like, look at Trinity, because look at Trinity Benson, look at Quintez Cephas. Like all these guys were like, they would be like the number 1 receiver one week, but because they don't play special teams, like the next week they'll be completely scratched. So like Trinity Benson was in the Josh Reynolds role, like 2 weeks ago, and then he was a healthy scratch. And then Reynolds, what did he run? Like 96% of the routes without a catch. So like, I wouldn't be surprised if he.
Yeah, again, I think that the 96% routes run without a catch is solely on Tim Boyle here. But I agree. Right. Yeah, obviously
he got cut once already. It's not out of the question.
I agree.
It's not out of the question.
It definitely is not. Anytime we're talking about the Lions, it isn't out of the question. At least that way we'll know. Yeah. If he's inactive, then we'll know not to play him. But the Lions receiving corp is just such a shit show that he does have a path to be the number 1 receiver. And like you said, his floor is obviously being inactive. But I think the odds of that happening this week, I'll put it at 10%. Let's just say that. So 90% chance he's out there running a ton of routes. Again, if Tim Boyle is under center, we want nothing to do with him. If David Blau is under center, maybe I'll have to think about it. But specifically, he's a Jared Goff play. The former teammate narrative, they'd have chemistry. So that's my angle here.
Bears are going to win this game like 6-0.
Yeah, I would love that.
A couple of other guys I do want to mention. Bryan Edwards. I love Bryan Edwards this week as a tournament play. You can't get any better than coming off no catches for what is it, the second time I think in 3 weeks.
The week he had catches was when I had the under on his. Prop,
so I think he goes over this week, and I think he has a bounce back because Dallas likes to play man coverage. Bryan Edwards, like they only go to him versus man. It's like some of these bigger receivers, I don't know, I guess, maybe it's because they don't have that lateral quickness, but they're just not targeted as much against zone coverage. Chase Claypool's like that a little bit, but he's kind of broken out of it. But Edwards, I mean, he's been, because most teams play zone, the majority of the time, and Edwards still has like 75% of his catches against man coverage. So I think so the line I like in this one is Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's been kind of their go-to guy against teams that play a little more man coverage, and his routes run per dropback are increasing. I just trust him a little more than Reynolds or Khalif Raymond at this point. They've kind of been rotating those perimeter guys, but St. Brown is, he's a rookie, so they have every incentive to kind of continue to look at him and see what he can do. So St. Brown is another guy that's kind of sneaky. So St. Brown and Edwards for me will be some of the guys that I'm looking at. And I like the Gabe Davis call as well, but poor went out for Deontay Harris. That didn't go well last week. I thought he would have such a good game, and it just didn't work out. And a fumble and all that good stuff. But let's go to tight end. The guy that stands out for me is Dalton Schultz. I have him ranked as a top 5 tight end this week. There are a bunch of options. There's Dawson Knox. TJ Hawkinson is still in that mix, although I'm guessing you're probably down on him given the quarterback situation. But it's probably going to be Schultz for me because I think you can afford him in cash games and not really get sidetracked.
Yeah, no, I like Dawson Knox this week at 4,400 on this slate. And Darren Waller is probably worth every penny on this slate, even at 6,400. It's pretty easy to make a lineup with Waller in it. And Juwan Johnson, with Adam Troutman out, this is a shout out to our boy Raheem, but this could be a Juwan Johnson game. I wonder if we also see some Taysom Hill at tight end here, but either way, Juwan Johnson at 2,600, he's a live play in GPPs. But yeah, it's a pretty good slate for tight ends, but I think Darren Waller is the play at tight end for me.
Johnson's another guy. It's like if he's active, right? Because like the week before he was scratched, and they only went with Garrett, Griffin, and Troutman, and then Van Nett came back and he led the team in routes when Griffin went 0. So it could be like Van Nett and Griffin and like Will Jordan Humphrey. I don't know. Like the Saints.
I think, it's a disaster. And I don't get the Taysom Hill contract. It's just baffling. But yeah, I guess Van Nett would be a sneaky play too. But I think, Juwan Johnson is probably inactive because he's like the backup pass catching tight end. So I just think with Troutman out, Juwan Johnson makes practical sense as a replacement. But like you said, who knows? So he's a GBP flyer, and I wonder if he's going to be highly rostered at 2,600. I don't even know, but either way, I'll have some flyers of Juwan Johnson here.
Yeah, I'm just, it's a small slate, so we just gotta, because if we don't mention that these guys could be scratched, it's like people going, "Don't you tell me to play?" And it's like, don't lock. First of all, don't lock in your lineups like before lock. But second of all, this is, there's a lot going on here. Let's go to our main slate breakdown. Let's start with quarterbacks. We'll talk waivers, but let's start how we usually do. Sean, give me your top 5 overall for week number 12.
So it's Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts at number 3, Justin Herbert, and Tom Brady.
I have Lamar number 1, assuming he plays. He's just still popping in my model. Obviously, if he starts missing more practice, he might go to number 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. But right now, just projection wise, he's number 1. Josh Allen number 2, Tom Brady number 3. Tom Brady, by the way, overall QB1 in points per game this year. Nuts. Jalen Hurts number 4 and Justin Herbert number 5. A little bit inconsistent, but he's coming on here, and I think he could have a decent game here against Denver. All right, so instead of going straight to DFS cheat codes and our top plays, let's talk waivers now. I think Cam Newton's at 52%. That's a little over the 50% threshold that we usually like to talk about, but he has to be rostered. Like if he's in if you're in one of those 48% of the leagues where Cam Newton is not rostered, you need to roster him. And then maybe you sell high after this because then he has a bye and like some tougher matchups in the playoffs, but should have a good game against Miami. But outside of Cam, Sean, who do you like for your top, quarterback streamer that's under 50% rostered?
Tyrod Taylor, baby, all the way. 6% rostered. Faces the Jets this week, who ranked 32nd, which is dead last in DVOA. The Texans team total is 23.5 this week. And this is a really tight week. Like there's a ton of spreads, 3 and under here. Not many team totals like over 25.5. So Texans have one of the highest team totals this week, which is insane. And I think with the running game struggling, they just cut Philip Lindsay here. they're just going to lean on Tyrod Taylor even more with his arm and his legs. Last week he had 2 rushing touchdowns, didn't throw for many yards, but didn't have to put away the Titans. But I just love his upside here, and he opens the week as my QB 10, so he's just a no-brainer streamer play here. And I think he has a pretty high floor and high ceiling for a streamer.
Yeah, like Tyrod, and the one other guy I'll mention is Taylor Heineke. He's right outside the top 10 for me as well. Going against Seattle, who's down to 25th in pass defense DVOA. And just as I said, Seattle has, a good cornerback situation going on. Trey Brown, who was playing really well, lost for the year. Reed missed last game, so we'll see what's going on with him. But now the Seattle defense is not very scary at all. Heineke's been playing well. I was really impressed the fact that they were able to come up with that win against Carolina. I mean, Carolina can lock up on defense. Mm-hmm. So for Heineke to play well, and he's been a one-read quarterback, so that was a brutal matchup for him. And he was able to throw the 3 touchdowns. So that was impressive. So I like him as well. Him and Tyrod are kind of those 2 guys. And they obviously, as you mentioned, can add, with their legs. Daniel Jones, maybe, we'll see him have a resurgence here with a new offensive coordinator, maybe some new wrinkles. So I think he's a guy to kind of watch out for as well on that streaming radar if you need it. All right, let's get to DFS cheat codes. Who do you like in DFS, or just guys that you're higher on than the consensus?
So I mean, Justin Herbert at 6,600. He's my top projected quarterback for this slate. We're missing some big names on this slate. Just worth mentioning, but Justin Herbert's my number 1 QB for the slate. Only 6,600. Like you said, he's been a little inconsistent, but definitely has a massive ceiling here against the Broncos. So love him. And then I already mentioned Tyrod Taylor. He's 5,300 on DraftKings, which is just criminal. I mean, like I said, he has a really high floor and ceiling combo this week. Not many teams have a team total over, 24-25 here. So the Texans have one of the higher team totals at 23.5. You've mentioned it before, but team totals correlate really well with quarterbacks. So I just think Tyrod Taylor is a no-brainer play this week at 5,300.
Yeah, Tyrod, this is, Tyrod, and he really hasn't had that good passing game yet. I feel like it's going to come. He looked pretty good as a passer to start the year, and then it's just been a little up and down, lately. But this Jets defense, I mean, my is that bad. I like him. And I got to mention Cam Newton at 5,600, because Cam Newton's 5,600 on DraftKings. On Fanduel, he's 8K. He's the 3rd highest priced quarterback. So, I mean, I don't know what's going on with the pricing here, but you got to get in Cam in cash games on DraftKings. Had the 26.2 fantasy points a week ago, 21 to 27 passing, 2 scores, and then 10 for 46 with a touchdown on the ground. And, Tom Brady, I think, because he's 300 more expensive than any other quarterback, maybe he won't get as much love as he should. But again, this is the number 1 overall quarterback, and he's going against a Colts defense that's 3rd lowest in pressure rate. And that's not a good recipe, because this isn't like everyone's going to say the Bucs haven't played well on the road. Well, this is not a normal road game. This is in a dome. All right. Like, this is, and no pressure in a dome for Tom Brady. Might be a 40 burger for, for the Bucs and for his fantasy point total. So don't sleep on Tom Brady. Probably not. Don't need him in cash games, obviously, with Cam Newton there. But in tournaments, I mean, I think you want a lot of exposure to Tom.
Absolutely. And it's a pass funnel matchup. He just got back Gronk, and he should be getting back Antonio Brown, right?
Yep.
And Scotty Miller. So it could be, all of his receivers, all of his tight ends ready to go rest of the season. I still think this could end up being a record-breaking season for Tom Brady. He has the extra game to beat Peyton Manning, but I stand by it. I think he's going to break his record this year.
Oh yeah, and this is go time for him, because he's still peeved about that 2-game losing streak. So he's not just gonna. And they left plays on the field. They could have had about 45 points against the Giants.
Yep.
I mean, I'm just mad because I had the over for once. Like, I took an over, and of course,
brutal.
And it looked good at the half, but a play got called. That Godwin was down at the 1, then it called back on an illegal formation. I mean, there are just some near misses. Cameron Brate dropped would have been a near touchdown. So, I think Tom is gonna play well. But let's go to our prop.
So let's go with Justin Herbert rushing yards. against the Broncos. You always do really great work when it comes to, QB rushing yards. So I want to get your take on him. Last week, I mean, he tore it up. We did rush for 90 yards against the Steelers. And it was anytime they would play man and turn their backs to him, he would just take off and run.
Yep.
I've always felt he's really good runner. Kind of reminds me of Josh Allen, where he's like this big guy, 6'6", but he can still run. So, he's playing the Broncos. They play the most man coverage. Like, where are you projecting him here? I feel like my projection is going to be way off here either way, but right now I'm projecting for 19 and a half rushing yards. Are you over that, under that, right in line? What do you got?
Yeah, I got him at 21, so a little bit over. He's only scrambled 5% on 5% of his dropbacks this year, so not a real high rate. But I'm bumping that up a tiny bit because, like you said, Denver plays so much man. Now they could come out of it, obviously that's kind of the gamesmanship here, but I think it's worth bumping him up a little bit. So I have him projected for 2.5 scrambles this week. So yeah,
nice.
If he scrambles 2 to 3 times, I think he has a good shot at going over that. And like you said, he's just really he can do it. Like one run could get him, spring him loose, just like that one play for Mike Williams sprung him loose. So that's like Herbert this week.
That was my follow-up question. Like, if he starts scrambling a lot more, that's going to help Mike Williams, right? Because they won't be able to put extra resources deep. Like, they're going to have to change up their scheme. So I just think that might open up Mike Williams the rest of the season. We'll see.
I mean, we hope. Like, it would be nice.
Yeah, that was a nice bounce back. I needed that game to beat Stuckey because I have Mike Williams in that league. But that was a long time coming. I was getting nervous there for that 4 or 5 game stretch of like nothing.
Oh yeah, well then I hope he doesn't do anything this week because.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
All right, let's go to running back. Sean, who are your top 5 at running back for week 12?
So I got Christian McCaffrey, although it's very close. Jonathan Taylor is basically a tie, and then Dalvin Cook, Najee Harris, and Austin Eckler.
I have Taylor number 1, McCaffrey number 2, Eckler number 3. Swift number 4 and Cook number 5. Might switch that up, but Swift has just been getting so much of the work in that backfield, and they're going to run. So I do like Swift in this game. I am projecting him to bounce back in terms of the catches. I mean, he's had a couple of down games receiving wise this year, but I think you still look at the larger sample. I don't know if it's like anything about Tim Boyle in particular, and especially after how bad he was last week. If he starts, I mean, they're probably going to be like, hey, dump it down to this guy, like the guy that goes for 100 yards rushing every week, even though we stink. So I still got Swift up there, but yeah, I might get Najee back in there. He was a little banged up. Mm-hmm. What did he get, a concussion or something, or he got tested for a concussion?
Yeah, he got tested, but he came back in.
Yeah.
So that was a good sign. But yeah, he looked fine after that, but it was definitely scary. He got hit, and he actually avoided a serious knee injury. The way he got tackled there was very scary. So it was more of a precautionary thing, but he came back in, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, and I mean, Najee might jump into the top 5. I could see Swift ending up 6th. Right now I have Najee 6th, but it's just because like over these past few games, there's been games where he just hasn't made it through the game as much as he was earlier. And I just wonder if some of those, like, all this usage is starting to take its toll, where, his usage is just ticking down slightly, like not majorly, but it's just like, 5-10% below his season averages, which were very high. So I might tinker with some things, but yeah, he's right on the cusp. All right, waivers. So Philip Lindsay, moments before we recorded this, it was reported that he got released. And thank God. I mean, this guy couldn't get to 3 yards of carry even in any game. I think he ended at 2.6. But that leaves Rex Burkhead maybe in the driver's seat here. I mean, he had 18 carries. He didn't do much on the ground either, but we know he can catch the ball. He had 18 carries for 40 yards, played 42% of the snaps. They are playing the Jets. So, I mean, how much do we trust Rex Burkhead, I guess is the question.
About as much as you could trust Rex Burkhead. So it's kind of a trick question, but I mean, he could end up becoming the Mark Ingram role in this offense, which is, a very, very low end running back 2, running back 3 kind of thing. But the Texans, even if they're down a ton, they don't mind giving a guy like Rex Burkhead carries or catches. They don't seem to be content giving David Johnson a workhorse role. So I think it will be Rex Burkhead who we need to target here. They did add Royce Freeman, who could mix in. He could be more of the Scotty Phillips role of couple touches a game. Nothing to worry about yet. But I think, yeah, if you're hurting at running back and you need an option this week, absolutely go for Rex Burkhead. Again, they're playing the Jets this week, so this is the time to play Rex Burkhead. So I think he's a great ad this week. Going forward, who knows? Like you said, he had 18 carries last week and didn't do much with it. That's probably going to be the norm, but at least he's getting touches. So if you're in a desperate spot, that you'll take that. But when it comes to other options this week, I think Tevin Coleman is in a similar spot where it seems gross to add a running back on a horrible team, but with Michael Carter out, it's going to be Tevin Coleman and Ty Johnson, I guess, splitting carries and passing work. But I think Tevin Coleman, when they do get in the goal line situations, he'll be the goal line back. So again, if you're hurting at running back, you could do worse than Tevin Coleman. He's like an RB3 flex option this week and a pretty good matchup against the Texans. So these are more short-term ads, I think. But I think Burkhead and Coleman are my top two ads this week.
Yeah, I would throw Johnson in that conversation as well. I mean, I think, he's their passing down back. So, they still are underdogs, even if they're playing the Texans. They're still underdogs. Yeah. They're on the road here. So, and the Texans have been better with Tyrod Taylor, if you look at their point differential with and without Tyrod Taylor, it's a complete 180. So, I think Ty Johnson's in that mix, but any one of those three guys, I think, in DFS, a punt play option there, on DraftKings, like Burkhead's 4,200, Johnson's 4,300, and Coleman is 40. I think it's min price 4K. Let me double check that.
Sounds about right.
He's 4K. So, I kind of, fiddled with, lineups. And if you just lock one of those guys in at running back, I mean, you can pretty much do whatever you want on DraftKings with Cam Newton at quarterback and one of those guys in the flex or whatever you call it. You can get like Debo in there and Keenan Allen and everyone you want to. So definitely maybe an option here, and definitely guys that you should be adding at this time of year. It's just good to have running back depth. You never know when these other guys are going to come back from injury. You never know when you might need a guy in a pinch. All right. Let's talk DFS cheat codes, top plays, guys you're higher on than the consensus.
So, I mean, got to stick with my boy, AJ Dillon. If Aaron Jones is out again, of course, he's only 5,900 against the Rams. Kind of let us down last week. So I'm going to stick with him. This is one of those situations where you could let us down one week and then just erupt here. So I'm sticking with AJ Dillon. Rams tend to invite the run. So this could be a really good spot. Showed that he could be a workhorse back. Had 6 catches for, I think, 40 yards. So love AJ Dillon here. I also love Miles Sanders at 5,100. It looks like Jordan Howard's going to be out. So Miles Sanders should be a true workhorse back here. The Eagles have been really run heavy of late. So I think Miles Sanders could go off here. He's also due for some positive touchdown regression. He's had 5 carries inside the 5-yard line this season with 0 touchdowns. So I think with Jordan Howard out, he's probably going to pick up most of the goal line work here. So love Miles Sanders. And then I like both Broncos running backs. Just as always, I love Javonte Williams. Just always think he's a steal at this price, even with Melvin Gordon active, because he's capable of putting up big score and limited carries. He's just that good. But also, this is a rare week where I'll probably sprinkle in some Melvin Gordon as well. This is a revenge game for him. Chargers rank dead last in DVOA against run. They practically invite teams to run. So I think the Broncos running game should excel here. So I like sprinkling both Broncos running backs.
Yeah, and Sanders has a matchup against the Giants, and they're 30th in run defense DVOA. So and then Burkhead has the Jets at 31st. So a lot of these guys, who are kind of looking at for value, also have great matchups in this spot. I like James Robinson at 6,200 against the Falcons. The Falcons are the Falcons. Jamal Agnew's out, so there's even less guys. There's less of those gadget guys now. Now you're only competing with like Tavon Austin and Laviska Shenault. Carlos Hyde has been mostly phased out of that rushing attack. He's still getting some work in the passing game, but this Falcons defense is one to target. This could actually be a positive game script game for the Jaguars. It's rare we ever say that, but they're at home and they're playing Atlanta, who's 24th in run defense DVOA. So I like Robinson at 6,200. Darrell Henderson, my favorite buy low running back. Like if you could trade for Darrell Henderson, I think you do it. He's got one of the more favorable schedules down the stretch. His bye week is done. He's only 5,800. He had his 2 worst games because the Rams just had bad game scripts, kind of uncharacteristic of them. I think, Sean McVay coming off the bye, he'll get corrected what he needs to, down the stretch here. Green Bay, a little bit of a run funnel, 12th in pass DVOA, 26th in rush defense DVOA. So good bounce back spot for Henderson, who's averaging, over 80 yards from scrimmage per game. So like him, and love Javonte as well at 5,200. I think you're going to start to see him, slowly get more work, I think, as the season progresses.
Yeah, I love the buy low calls on Henderson and Robinson. We did our trade deadline buy low, sell high pieces, and I love buying the dip on Robinson. He missed a game or two. I think it was of those injuries, and he's limited 2 weeks ago with his heel and knee injuries, but I think he's going to go back to that workhorse usage we saw in weeks 2 through 6, where I think he was like the RB7. So yeah, I love his upside, and like you said, the Jaguars. What's the spread on this game? I think it's a pick 'em against the Falcons. So
Falcons might be favored by 1 because everyone just hates the Jaguars. But
but either way,
this is probably a game where I wouldn't be surprised if Jaguars win, especially if Patterson's out.
Yeah, which it's going to be great for Robinson. So love the Robinson call here.
All right, who's our running back prop?
Let's see. Jonathan Taylor. Rushing yards. This is up on Prize Picks right now, but it's 75.5 against the Buccaneers. What do you got?
Over. I have them closer. I have them at 90. This is a tough matchup, but remember, the Bucs are without Vita Vea. It looks like he's not gonna be back. They still obviously have a good front, but we've seen Jonathan Taylor erupt against good run defense. I mean, Buffalo, I think they were number 1 in DVOA coming into last week. And then Jacksonville, they were number 1 in eliminating explosive plays. He went for 116. So, this guy has been over 100 in 6 games and he's played 11. So he's been over 100 more than half the time. And now we're getting 75.5. I think that's absurd. Just keep locking Taylor in. They're making Marlon Mack inactive. And Frank Reich even said it. He just said Taylor's too hot. There's no point in having another running back that doesn't play special teams because we're just going to give the ball to Taylor. He's Derrick Henry. Jonathan Taylor is the new Derrick Henry. Because you can't even say that about Nick Chubb because Nick Chubb still splits carries with Kareem Hunt or Dearness Johnson when those guys are healthy. Nyheim Hines is not really stealing carries from Taylor at this point. Taylor had 32 for 185 last week.
Just ridiculous.
Derrick Henry.
He is so good. Yeah, and like Derrick Henry, I don't want to jinx him at all, but I guess Jonathan Taylor's never missed a game in high school, college, or the pros. So he's durable.
He missed one last year. He missed one last year.
Oh, he did?
No, yeah, he was COVID-19. COVID-19 in week 12 against Tennessee. Oh. The COVID gets everyone, man.
Yeah, so I guess it technically was an injury. I guess they kind of milked that up. But yeah, he hasn't missed the game due to an injury, I guess. So yeah, I mean, he's durable. Like you said, he basically is a new Derrick Henry. Next year, he's going to be the consensus number 1 overall pick. I would bet on that, but yeah, just can't go wrong. And I'll say I love the over on this. I'll save my analysis for Prize Picks section, but I'm with you on the over here as well.
All right, let's get to wide receiver. Sean, who do you like as your top 5 for week 12 at the wide receiver position?
So my top 5 is Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Deebo Samuel, of course, and Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs.
I have Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Deebo Samuel, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. Like Chase in this spot. Diggs, again, I just don't know what's going on with his routes run. I know we're nitpicking him here, but he ran 82% last week. His season average is 82%. It's I can't project this guy for the 90, 95 that I want to because he's just not doing it, which knocks him down ever so slightly compared to some of those other alpha guys. So he's still in my top 8, but yeah, he's just a little lower for me. I'll go with Chase, Chase is, to be fair, a little more consistent this year anyway. So
yeah, I feel like I keep having Diggs number 5 and you have Chase number 5 and we bicker about it, and they both do well every week.
The important thing is Deebo.
Yes. Yeah. So how many rushing attempts are you projecting?
This is a deja vu. You asked me this last week and then he had many more than even I had.
It's projecting Antonio Gibson and Deebo Samuel, right? It's just his rushing upside really just put like he's borderline top 2 for me now. Like how many rush attempts? Again, how many rushing attempts are you projecting for him? Because it's
so right now I have him for 2, but that's because I am projecting Elijah Mitchell to return. If Elijah Mitchell is going to be out again, we know that like Trey Sermon isn't Kyle Shanahan's favorite. I know he got, I think 10 carries or whatever it was last week, but he's not, you know, when it's only Sermon, like when it's no Mitchell, that's when Shanahan really starts splitting carries up a little more. So right now, you know, I have Samuel right around his season average of carries, which is around 8% of the non, scrambles for quarterbacks. So that could increase if Mitchell's out. What about you?
Yeah, I'm 3 carries for 20 yards.
Ooh, so, okay, yeah. I'm a 2 for 14, but yeah, I like it. I like where you're going.
Beefed up rushing touchdown projection too. So, yep, I'm pretty high on Debo finally.
Oh yeah, I'm like he's cash game. He's locked into cash games for me this week. Like especially with Adams going against the Rams. Not that should matter, but you know, you never know.
And Brandon Ayuk is now just a full-fledged wide receiver 3, potentially wide receiver 2 upside right now, but all in on Ayuk now as well.
Yeah, he's wide receiver 36 for me, so he's kind of still on that cusp. But yeah, I'm encouraged with what I see. He's running, you know, upwards of 90% of the routes for the Niners. So we're seeing good things, and that's going to be important to keep the coverage honest on Debo. All right. Let's go to waiver ads here. Not too much to talk about. But you know, I know, you know, the Chiefs are on bye and the Cardinals are on bye. So there are people missing some wide receivers that they were probably starting these last few weeks. The one guy that stood out to me was Van Jefferson at 46% rostered. I think he's still going to get those 95% of snaps and routes for the Rams. You know, Beckham should be up closer to 85% this week. We'll see after the bye, but either way, Jefferson, you know, this is a 1-1 personnel team. Jefferson should be, in that wide receiver 3 conversation as well. So I think he should be owned. What do you think as far as Jefferson and anyone else you're looking at to add at wide receiver?
Yeah, Van Jefferson at 46% is absolutely ridiculous. He's going to be a wide receiver 3 the rest of the way. And I think he still has some short-term wide receiver 2 upside, depending on how much Odell Beckham has, you know, gotten up to speed with this offense, but love Jefferson. And yeah, 46% is pretty stupid. But Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore is rostered in 58% of leagues, and I thought that was stupid, but Jefferson takes the cake. But either way, if Elijah Moore is available in your league, just add him. He just has too much upside. I was touting him heading into the season. I was kind of low on him because this receiving depth chart is still pretty crowded, but he's just too good and it's showing. So he's going to be a wide receiver 3 the rest of the way. I hate to say it, I kind of wish Joe Flacco would start more games for Elijah Moore's sake. But I digress. I think Cedric Wilson's a good ad for just this week only if you need some help at wide receiver with Cooper and Lamb potentially missing. Laviska Shenault, he's been very disappointing this season, but with Jamal Agnew out, you know, he's going to see an extra couple targets a game. So he could sneak into that wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 discussion going forward. And then last but not least, MVS, just the ultimate high upside flyer. If you're ever a big underdog or you faced the Patriots defense on Thursday Night Football last week, I was saying roll the dice on MVS. He could get you a 0, but he has that massive upside. So he's just a nice option to have on your bench if you ever get in a situation where you just need to shoot for the moon. He's the guy I like to roll out there. So love stashing MVS for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think he's interesting. You know, depending on what happens with Lazard, you know, MVS, you know, he ran 86% of the routes last week. If he's around that number, he's like a low end flex this week for me. He's like wide receiver 49. You know, it's not great, but given the ceiling, you know, if you're kind of desperate there and he's one of the options available, you could do a lot worse. Especially with, you know, maybe Ramsey paying a little more attention to Adams than, you know, Ramsey usually just kind of lurking in the slot, but I could see them putting him on Adams for at least part of this game. All right, let's go to our DFS cheat codes, top plays. Guys were higher on than the consensus at wide receiver.
So at the top, I think Deontay Johnson at 6,600 is a no-brainer. His floor ceiling combo is just way too high with Juju out the rest of the season. So love Deontay at that price. Michael Pittman, I was down on him last week against the Bills, but I'm back on the Pittman train against the Buccaneers. He's 5,600 this week. Again, he's in the middle of just a massive year 2 breakout. You called him heading into his rookie season last year, and it's finally come to fruition. Just love him this week. Should be a pass funnel game for the Colts, even though I think Jonathan Taylor will still have a good game. I think they lean on Pittman here. And then I mentioned Laviska Shenault, just with Jamal Agnew out. I think, especially against the Falcons, we could finally see a ceiling game from Shenault. So love having some shares of him this week. MVS, I already mentioned, just no-brainer GPP kind of dart throw against the Rams here. He's 4,100. Just love the ceiling he provides every week. And last but not least, I think Nico Collins is a great stacking option for Tyrod Taylor. Brandon Cooks has been cooling off a bit of late. And I think they really want to see what they have in Nico Collins. He's one of the better rookie wide receivers, I think, in this class. And, he's been the number 2 wide receiver in this offense. So I think this is a week we could see a ceiling game. I think he has touchdown upside. He actually caught a touchdown last week. It got called back due to like a penalty, or his foot was out or something. But I thought I thought he got it, but
he got it. That was a bad call.
He got it. Okay. So
what was a bad call?
What was
I don't know. Like they just said he was like it was like I think they called it out on the field and they just didn't have enough to overturn it. But if you looked at that, I mean, I thought it was a touchdown. Like I think they just didn't have enough on the replay to overturn it, but it was a touchdown.
Oh man. Yeah. I remember. So it was Kenny Galladay's rookie season. I had charted, he had about 5 touchdowns called back due to penalty or just missing it. And so I've been tracking. I think Collins has a couple now, but either way, love Collins this week. If you have to stack somebody with Tyrod Taylor, it's obviously Brandon Cooks, but I think you could get sneaky and go with Nico Collins here. So love him on DK this week.
Yeah. I had Collins last week in some tournaments. So I wasn't happy about that. A wide receiver. Like I already know my cash game trio at wide receiver. It's going to be Debo, Keenan Allen, and Deontay Johnson. So Deontay, Keenan Allen, and Debo Samuel join Cooper Kupp and Devontae Adams as players that have double-digit DraftKings points in every single game. So I think you got to get those 3 guys in however you can do it. I mean, the floor has been amazing. I do like Brandon Cooks here at 5,800. He's another guy I buy low on because, they want to get Nico Collins more looks, but Brandon Cooks still running 95% of the routes. And like, he's a guy that can get that 30% target share because none of these receivers, including Nico Collins, has really proven to be a target hog. The backs haven't, the tight ends haven't. So I think Brandon Cooks could have a big stretch. And remember, they had a positive game script, for one of probably the few times all year last week against the Titans. So, that's not going to be every week. Even this week, even though they're favorites, they're playing the Jets defense that's just abysmal. So I think you go, you keep going back to Cooks. T. Higgins, I think you keep going back to T. Higgins as well. 5,400.
Thank you for taking that for me this week.
Yeah. I know it was disappointing last week, but he's playing another zone heavy team. He leads the Bengals even better than Jamar Chase in yards per route run against zone coverage. So I think Higgins has a bounce back. You get some of those bad games every once in a while, unless you're talking about like Deontay or Keenan or Debo or Kupp or Adams. So I think Higgins is still way too cheap. And then another guy, I love Elijah Moore. He is my biggest riser in terms of like rest of season rankings because he finally ran a route on, more than 80% of the snaps for first time since week 1. But Corey Davis, I think, is too cheap at 4,800. He also was on the field for 95% of the dropbacks. And I think with Moore kind of coming on, Davis's price has gotten knocked down, but Davis has been, consistently the Jets, number 1 receiver, more or less, and he's still getting a ton of routes. And I think like the emergence of Moore and the fact that they're playing him and Keelan Cole less, that just makes it easier for Davis because he's always been a little better when he's not like the top priority of the defense. We saw him kind of flourish with AJ Brown. So I think Elijah Moore is kind of turning into that AJ Brown type producer, down the stretch. Remember, AJ just went off down the stretch that first year. So I think this actually works well for Corey Davis here. So 4,800 getting, 95% of the snaps. I'll take it against the Houston Texans defense.
I love the AJ Brown comp. I agree with like the Tyler Lockett kind of comp with Elijah Moore. He's a slot receiver but can go deep. Just here's one of my favorite rookie wide receivers heading in the season. I feel bad because I kind of miss out on this bull run on him, but I'm back on the Elijah Moore train. I just think he's too good. So love the call. And
you know what?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, no, I was going to say with Moore, it was just like every week I was just like optimistically projecting him for more snaps than he played the week before. And like he didn't actually get them until last week, but he would produce somehow even unlimited snaps, which it's scary how good he can be if he keeps playing 80% of the snaps or more.
Yeah. And I was rooting for them to trade away like, Denzel Mims, who I love Denzel Mims. I want to see him on another team that gets playing time, or I wanted them to trade away Mims and Crowder so that we could safely project more for 80% or more routes run per week. But yeah, it's been a struggle giving him anything more than like 55 or 60, but I'm all in on him now. Not going to downgrade him going forward. But again, love your T Higgins call at 5,400. I feel like whoever sets pricing at DK accidentally like manually entered 5,400, and all the other prices are based on a formula, but they like messed up and kept him at 5,400. He's been 5,400 for like 6 weeks in a row now. So I just wonder if there's something fishy going on there.
Yeah, it's like the cell in the spreadsheet is broken. It's like not importing the formula like it is for everyone else.
Yeah, but he should always be like 6K at least.
Yeah, like 59 if he has a bad week before maybe. But yeah, like a good 500 more at least.
Exactly.
Who we got for the prop at wide receiver?
That's a great question. Do I even have a prop? Yeah. So Michael Gallup, total receiving yards against the Raiders. Like how are you adjusting this with both, Cooper and Lamb expected to miss? So right now I have him projected for 58.5 receiving yards. Is that too high or low?
It's pretty much right on. I have his mean at 62. So his median would be, around 57, 58. But yeah, I think he'll push for 60 yards with a ceiling of like 150. So, I mean, this is the Raiders. They play single high that, Gallup can get down the field. I have him as my wide receiver 18. I am projecting Lamb to miss. So if I, reinsert Lamb, I think Gallup goes into more of like the wide receiver 3 range, probably like 30th or something like that. But right now, with those guys out, I have Gallup at wide receiver 18. The Cowboys are the biggest favorite of the week. It's just an ugly week. So that they have the highest implied total as well. So this is, it kind of seems like Thursday ugly, and things could go wrong, but at the moment, this is a smash spot.
Ugly week. Would that mean there's a bunch of close games?
Oh, I guess the opposite. I kind of like big spreads though, because I like the uncertainty. Like, remember when everyone was like, "Oh my God, week 9, let's see whatever would happen." I'm like, I loved week 9. Like it was,
week 9 was absolutely a shit show. Usually, I think people are being overly dramatic, but they're absolutely right. Week 9 was a shit show.
No, I loved it though. I love when things go against the it was really bad. I think it was week 7. It was statistically the widest margin of like the whole merger in terms of the average margin of victory for the winning teams. And I think there was only like 1 or 2 the percentage of games that were even within 2 possessions was like the lowest it's been in like 3 decades. So yeah, that was a bad week. Like week 9, that's just uncertainty. But there's a lot of uncertainty this week because it's like you could have like every favorite lose because they're all favored by like 2-3 points.
Exactly.
So it should be interesting. So I shouldn't say it's a bad week, but it's just, it's there's not a lot in terms of like locked in smash spot plays or teams because the games are expected to be close. All right, let's go to tight end. Sean, who are your top 5 at tight end for week 12? We got no Travis Kelce.
Yeah, no Kelce. So, I feel bad because I faded Waller last week on his player prop and he just absolutely crushed it. I think we were both on that. So I got Waller at number 1, George Kittle, Kyle Pitts at number 3, and then Mark Andrews and Dalton Schultz.
That's my exact top 5. I guess it's pretty cut and dry at tight end. I wouldn't worry about Kyle Pitts. That you could kind of see that coming against the Patriots. They had one player you worry about, and that was Kyle Pitts. So the Patriots are going to do a good job of shutting that out. Falcons had to bye. Ridley still looks like he's not going to be back. I think Pitts, number 3, especially we don't know exactly what's going on with Lamar yet. Marquise Brown could be back as well for the Ravens. So I think Andrews, it's fair to keep him at 4. And then Schultz bumps up a little bit because you have those top 2 receivers likely out for Dallas. All right. Waiver ads. I mean, talk about disappointing. Did Dan Arnold play last week?
Ooh, yeah. Well, actually, he ran a season high 83% routes run and had 0 catches. So really weird. But I guess any tight end under 50% rostered is bound to have a bad game, right?
Yeah, and I mean, that's why I'm kind of asking you, because I look at the potential waiver ads for this week, and I go to Dan Arnold. But you know what? I think maybe we should have been more concerned about last week, which it's like a few years ago we would have been on this, but Jaquiski Tart was activated like a day before that Niners Jags game. Remember, he was always just a tight end eliminator. Now I haven't watched the all 22, so I don't know if like he was in fact the reason why Dan Arnold struggled, but maybe we should have paid more attention to that. But either way, I think Dan Arnold's the guy you add this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, if you didn't add tight ends under 50% just because they had a bad game, you wouldn't be able to add anybody. So I'm going to forgive Arnold here. And again, he's another guy that could benefit, or he should benefit, with Jamal Agnew out the rest of the season. That's probably going to be an extra target or two for Arnold going forward. And yeah, like I said, he's shown such a high floor this ceiling, but hasn't had a ceiling game because he hasn't scored a touchdown. Well, we finally saw a floor game. So I think that it's just a given we're going to see a ceiling game here. So I'm doubling down on Dan Arnold this week. I'm not going to overreact to the goose egg from week 11.
Yeah, I mean, they are playing the Falcons, so the Jaguars might actually get touchdowns.
Yes, we can only hope, right?
Right. All right. Who do we like? Top plays. I really, looking at the slate on DraftKings and the pricing, I really like Gronk at 4,400 and Higbee at 4,200. I think that's kind of a little sweet spot for tight end. And then Arnold's at 4K, so that's more of a tournament kind of pivot there, coming off the bad game. But what are you thinking here at tight end?
Yeah, so this is a pretty weak slate for tight end. So no Kelsey, he's on the bye, but no Waller, Andrews, or even Schultz.
Yeah.
So I think that, Dallas Goedert at 4,800, he's priced kind of in this like tier by himself with like a Noah Fant. I think Dallas Goedert sticks out. He got banged up week 10, I think it was. He got knocked out of the game. So, his numbers weren't nearly as good as they could have been. But ever since the Ertz trade, he's been pretty steady, but he actually hasn't scored a touchdown since the Ertz trade. So I think he's another guy that's due for some positive touchdown regression. So love taking my boy Dallas Goedert at any time, but especially on this slate at 4,800. And then I have to stick with Dan Arnold and Tyler Conklin. They disappointed last week. They're still, priced too low, and they should bounce back this week. So got to stick with just the Arnold Conklin as the top cheap options as well.
I'm not playing Tyler Conklin after Dan Arnold just goose egged against the 49ers. That is not.
Oh, true. That's
not what I'm going to
do. That's fair.
Like I like Arnold. Like I think you just go back to Arnold here. Like he's paying 300 more, but yeah, I mean that's worrisome. If tight ends are goose egging against the 49ers. All right, who is our tight end prop?
So let's go with Kyle Pitts. Like you said last week, it was kind of predictable that he would bust. But yeah, so this week I'm expecting for him to bounce back and have a big game against the Jaguars, but I'm projecting him at 59.5 receiving yards. You over under that?
Yeah, I'm right at 60, mean about 66, median about 60. So I'll go over. I think it's a bounce back game for Kyle Pitts. Like this Jaguars defense is not going to be able to hold him back. I mean, the Patriots are one of the few teams that, because it's not just talent, right? It's scheme. The Jaguars, on the other hand, they're 30th in DVOA against tight ends. But if you want to call Kyle Pitts a receiver, they're also 30th in DVOA against number one wide receivers. And they're 31st in overall pass defense DVOA. So, and they're 30th against wide receiver twos for good measure. So it's like whatever you think Kyle Pitts is, the Jaguars are bad at defending it. So yeah, big spot for him. All right, let's get into our lineup building segment. We'll build a lineup on Fanduel, build a lineup on DraftKings. Let's start on DraftKings. Strawn, you went first last week on DraftKings, right?
Yeah, it's your turn to go first.
Okay, cool. On DK, I am going to go ahead and let's lock in Cam just because I love his price at 5,600. We're gonna go Cam Newton here against the Dolphins.
Okay, well, let's lock in Debo.
Took
All
my
aboard the
guy.
Debo train.
Yeah, right.
He's my guy too now. I mean, 3 carries for 20 yards plus a really good receiving projection. Just can't go wrong with him right now.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually give us a defense here because this caught my attention because they're one of the top price defenses on FanDuel and the second lowest on DraftKings. And that's the Houston Texans at 2,300 against the Jets. I mean, whether we get Zach Wilson or Joe Flacco or Mike White or whoever the heck is on this roster still, they're liable to turn the ball over. The Jets are giving up the third most DraftKings points to opposing defenses. So 2,300 for the Texans gives us a lot of wiggle room, especially going cheap at quarterback as well. So we still have an average of 5,700 remaining for our final 6 players.
Yeah, that must be like a T. Higgins situation again, where the sell is like manually entered, just permanently Texans 2,300, not factoring in the matchup this week.
Well, it's weird because like I said, Cam Newton is 5,600 on DK and 8K on FanDuel. So there is something odd about this DraftKings pricing this week. I will say that.
I agree. God, I have to do it though. AJ Dillon, 5,900. This is one of the. I'm assuming Aaron Jones is out, right? Like,
I think he is, but we'll just leave an extra 100 at most because Aaron Jones is 6K. So worst comes to worst, you can always pivot.
Yeah, that's a good call. Okay, so yeah, I'm less worried about it now. So on Sunday, if Aaron Jones is out, we're pivoting. Or if Aaron Jones is active, we'll just pivot to him here at 6K.
So let's go with the running back in the same game, Darrell Henderson at 5,800. They're 26 in DVOA. I think Henderson, he's another pivot off Dillon in that same game as well. But in this lineup, let's stack them up. I think both of these teams are going to be able to run on each other. Usually you don't do the running back same game for the correlation here, but it's a 1-point spread and a total around 50. So close, high scoring game. That's a good spot for running backs.
So we'll probably just have to start spending up at this point. So I'll go with Davante Adams to kind of correlate with what you just said. Just a high scoring game. We want Henderson getting touchdowns, yards. So we need Davante Adams doing work as well. I thought about taking MVS here, but since we're already going cheap, let's spend up to get Davante here.
All right.
Is this the highest total game? Like there's not
I think
many
it might be
totals.
Yeah.
So yeah,
there's not. All right. Let's see. Oh, at tight end, let's go Gronk. The Colts are 29th in points allowed to tight ends, and Gronk looked really good.
Yeah.
Coming back from his injury, 6 of 8 for 71 yards, and you just know he's going to get re-involved in the red zone. He had 4 touchdowns in his first 2 games. Hasn't had one since, but he's only played 3 games since, and he sat out a lot of one of them. So we'll go Gronk here at 4,400. That's just a steal.
Yeah, agreed. So we have average price left of about 4,800.
Yep, 4,750.
Let's see, how much should I give you to work with at flex?
Well, I got some options if you want to get go cheap. As long as I have like 43-ish.
Well, okay, I got it. I know exactly who we're going with. We're going with Nico Collins at 3,200. He's gonna see that touchdown this week that was robbed from both of us. I didn't realize he had him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I wrote him out. I was like, you got to target these wideouts coming off the buys, and especially the rookies, like the young wideouts. You always figure they're going to get more involved, especially coming off the buy. So
I think like you said, Brandon Cooks is a good play, but I really do think they're starting to evaluate these rookies. Like they've made Jordan Akins healthy scratch, and they're looking at Brevin Jordan. So I think that they need to start funneling targets to Collins. Like I said, he's one of the best rookie wide receivers in this class. So want to get in on him before he has that blow up game. So let's go with Collins here.
All right. So we got flex. We got 6,300.
Nice.
So we got a ton of options here.
Yeah.
Let's go with. Yeah, we can leave 100 left over, so a little less than I usually do, but I really think this is a big spot for Kyle Pitts, and we'll get the double tight end action. Nice. But he's a kind of a wide receiver, so Kyle Pitts 6,100. That makes our lineup Cam Newton at 5,600 at Miami, AJ Dillon at 5,900, against the Rams. Darrell Henderson Jr. at 5,800 at Green Bay. Deebo Samuel against Minnesota at 7,900. Devontae Adams against the Rams at 8,600. And Nico Collins against the Jets at 3,200, with Gronkowski at tight end at 4,400, and Kyle Pitts in the flex at 6,100, with the Texans defense at 2,300.
Love it. And I love when we do the double tight end stack when one of them's really not even a tight end.
Right.
Like we had the double tight end stack where we had Gesicki. I'm like, he's essentially a receiver at this point. So yeah, I don't even think Kyle Pitts is a tight end. So I love the upside of having these double tight end stacks. It makes it pretty unique.
Yeah, hopefully we can get 9 guys in our lineup. You know, we make these, and then I feel like every week somebody gets like ruled out with COVID.
Yeah, like what can you do though? But at least we're preparing for the possibility that Aaron Jones suits up, and we have a backup plan for that. So just keep that in mind.
All right, let's head on over to FanDuel, and you're up first.
Okay, so let's start with quarterback on FanDuel. I'm going to go Justin Herbert. We didn't take him on DraftKings, but got to get some Justin Herbert love here. He's only 7,800 at FanDuel, and I think, like you said, you were loving Keenan Allen this week. We have Mike Williams as a potential stack, so let's go Justin Herbert.
Yeah, Herbert is probably going to be my cash game quarterback on FanDuel. He's just too cheap. I mean, he's the QB5 on the slate, but there's only 10 games, and he's my quarterback 5 overall for the week. So he's a little bit mispriced on FanDuel. But there, like we said, there's a lot of discrepancies in terms of pricing this week. So it is interesting. But I'm going to go with one of my favorite values on FanDuel, and that is Tyler Higbee at tight end. He's 5,400. The Packers are 26 in DVOA against tight ends. And, Higbee could see a little bit of an uptick here with Robert Woods out. Odell Beckham still getting acclimated. But either way, I mean, 5,400 for Higbee, he's priced below Evan Engram somehow. I don't know how, but he's priced below Evan Engram, so I'm taking that one day. Tyler Higbee at 5,400
with Sterling Shepard potentially returning this week. So that makes
Monday
no sense.
Monday night. They priced it before Monday night.
So the question is here: do we want to stack Keenan Allen or Mike Williams here, or both?
Well, Allen is 400 cheaper on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. Even though FanDuel has a $10,000 higher cap. So, I mean, Allen is clearly a value on the site. And Williams is only 200 less. So I actually think Allen.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, DraftKings is a full PPR. So that just makes Allen that much more valuable. But, yeah, I like just Justin Herbert only has eyes for Keenan Allen. How could you not? He's open on every single play. So let's go with the Herbert Allen stack here.
All right, let's see. Let's stick at wide receiver. I'm gonna go with. Let's go with some Mike Evans at 7,500.
Love it.
This guy you want to talk about a FanDuel made receiver. This guy catches touchdowns pretty much week in, week out. Like, out of his last 6 games, he's caught touchdowns in 5 of them, and 2 of them were multi-touchdown games. So he's got 8 touchdowns in his last 6 games. That's pretty absurd. So yeah, Mike Evans.
3 touchdown potential, Mike Evans. Love it. So I'm going to go a little bit cheaper here to round out our wide receiver, and a guy that we talked about earlier. Just ridiculous that he's available in 46% of leagues right now, and that's Van Jefferson at 5,400 on FanDuel.
Ooh,
just ridiculous. So
so we got the Rams Tyler Higbee Van Jefferson stat. We should have gone with Stafford. Or do you want? Yeah, do you want to?
We can swap him out. I don't care. Yeah, let's go Stafford at quarterback.
Okay.
We can backtrack our stack here.
That's fine.
Like, totally fine with that, and then kind of go from there. When we're dealing with GPPs here, you got to go with correlation. So yeah, Matthew Stafford it is.
Yep. All right. So we have 67.50 for 2 running backs, a flex, and a defense. I'll let you pick the flex. I'll go with a running back here, and let's see. We'll go James Robinson at 7,600.
Nice.
So we have a bunch of these mid-range guys and some cheap guys. So 64, 67 average, running back, flex, defense.
Yeah, I got to go with the defense here. The question is, which one do we like? And I'm looking at the Bengals at 3,300. Is that the best value here?
That's going to be my cash game play. I mean,
my God.
Granted, this is a Tomlin spot. The Steelers might win this game, but it's still one of the biggest home favorites of the week. So, I mean, 3,300.
Yeah, they seem a little too obvious. Like, I hate spending up at defense or taking defenses that seem too obvious, but I don't care. We're going with the Bengals at 3,300.
Yeah, I mean, for this, it makes sense. I mean, I don't know how obvious they're going to be just because they're still the Bengals. I don't think people
what is that supposed to mean? But yeah,
people don't have this positive impression of the Bengals defense. All right, so we have 80-50. We have a good amount of salary. So I'll let you go flex, and you'll have a good amount regardless of who I take it running back. Let's go with.
By the way, is this the first week they don't have Christian McCaffrey 10K?
I think it is. Yeah, he's
been 10K all year, and now that he's probably worth 10K, he's now 9,700.
I mean, we could fit him in. Let's see.
No, Jonathan Taylor's the same price, right? And who do you have projected for more points? Probably
Jonathan
Taylor. Right? Yeah, no, I wasn't saying I wanted to take McCaffrey. I was just making a joke because I've been saying he's been 10K, like even when he was like limited or when he was out, and now that he's back and like borderline number one, now they bump him down 300. Just didn't make sense.
Let's take Jonathan Taylor. Let's go Jonathan Taylor.
Nice.
9,800. A little bit contrarian maybe because everyone thinks the Bucs run defense is elite, which it's pretty good, but again, probably no Vita Vea. So let's get the new Derrick Henry in here. We got 6,300 for a flex.
So let's see the running back. It's Miles Sanders is 6,100. I do like him this week. Let's see for receiver. We got guys like T. Higgins. But again,
Ayuk.
he's not. Oh, Ayuk.
Yeah, so we wouldn't have any salary left over though.
That's fine. Let's see how
Jerry Jeudy's only 6,100.
Jerry Jeudy. So that would jive with the Keenan Allen. But are they going to be able to afford Jerry Jeudy after signing Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick to all these contracts? Or
I mean, I don't think that has any effect on how many fantasy points he scores. But
no, I know. I'm more thinking long term.
You can get Odell Beckham in there and get another Ram.
Oh God, no. I think Van Jefferson is the leverage against Odell Beckham here.
Marvin Jones is there. Dallas Goedert. Jacoby Myers, Javonte Williams, 5,700.
Yeah, no, I think it's between Javonte and Miles Sanders. I'm just a little bit worried about Melvin Gordon revenge game.
Okay.
But you know, I love Javonte Williams, so you know what? I'm going to go with Miles Sanders here. It's going to.
I mean, maybe he'll finally get a touchdown since there's no Jordan Howard, and
that's what I'm saying.
Gainwell was a scratch, and Boston Scott used to get 0 touches when Sanders was healthy too.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I'm still worried about Jalen Hurts when it comes to goal line situations, but like you said, with no Jordan Howard, it moves Miles Sanders up the pecking order. So yeah, it would kill me to not take Sanders here and have him go off. So I'm going Sanders.
All right. So to recap, we got Matthew Stafford at quarterback at 7,700. James Robinson at running back at 7,600 against the Falcons. Jonathan Taylor at 9,800 against the Bucs. Keenan Allen at 7K at Denver. Mike Evans at 7,500 at Indy. And Van Jefferson Jr. 5,400 at Green Bay. Also got Tyler Higbee stacked with Stafford here at 5,400 at Green Bay. And then Miles Sanders in the flex at the New York Giants in their bottom 3 run defense. At 6,100, and the Bengals maybe chalk, maybe not, but they're at 3,300. Good value there for the defense as a home favorite against Pittsburgh. All right, so that is going to wrap it up for a jam-packed Week 12 Fantasy Flex podcast presented by Prize Picks. You can find Sean on Twitter at @_oddsmaker. You can find me on Twitter at Chris Raybon. You can find us at those same handles in the free award-winning Action Network app where you can follow our bets or track yours for free. Be sure to check out actionnetwork.com for our fantasy football content, rankings, and projections, and fantasylabs.com for our DFS content, tools, and models. Happy Thanksgiving, and let's get this money.